Welcome to our second tech blurb. We're filming out in rural Vermont, as you can see behind us. And this week we'll be doing arm changes in 4 beats. And so we have a lot more material than we even thought, because as we were writing this we kept coming up with new, really cool stuff. So we might end up splitting this into 2 videos, but we'll see. So enjoy.
So first of all, we want to just start by covering the basics. In our last video, we talked a little bit about how during a 4-beat, when your arms open at the back here and front, you have a lot of freedom to You have a lot of freedom to do whatever you'd like there, including, as the subject today will be, changing which arm you're using. So this is a very cool move in partner poi, because it's something that you can do completely spontaneously without affecting your partner's side of the pattern at all, as long as you keep the pattern moving around in the same circle from your partner's perspective. You can do it really whenever you would like without messing with them up.
Yep, so there are a few different kinds of arm changes you can do, and how hard each one is based on 2 different factors that complicate things. And either or both can be present in any arm change, so we'll show that in a sec. But so that ends up giving you 4 different options of what an arm change can be.
4 different types.
Yeah, 4 types.
So first of all, when you're doing any arm change, it involves a 180 turn, which means that you have 2 different directions that you can turn for any arm change. We call those blind and non-blind. So the instinctive way to turn is so that your visual field goes across you and your partner like this, so you can see what's happening a lot more easily. So that is a non-blind turn, but the complicating factor that could be added to that is, instead of doing a non-blind turn, is to turn the other way. I don't know if this will work, because we haven't practiced it, but a non-blind turn like that. Anyway, turning your body in this direction with your field of vision going away. So that is one of the 2 factors. The other one we refer to as a crossing turn. That is the other thing that can make the 4-beat more difficult. So that has to do with whether you are rejoining in the front or back, and whether you're turning your outside hand more naturally towards the front or back. So first of all, non-crossing turn looks something like this, where I am leaving and rejoining in the front. So let's just do that same one more time. Leaving and rejoining in the front here, and turning so my outside hand is coming to the front. A crossing turn is more difficult, and involves your hand having to cross between your bodies before it gets to where it needs to be going.
So an example of a crossing turn, say I'm going to turn so my right arm has to cross all the way to this side. That means I'm going to have to cross my arm, and it just feels more weird, so hopefully we'll see what happens here. So we turn on this side. There.
So in that one, his hand had to come downwards between our bodies before it could get to where it's going. So you can combine those 2 factors in 4 different ways total.
You can have a non-crossing non-blind, or a crossing non-blind, blind non-crossing, or the hardest you can possibly do is a crossing blind turn.
Which is very tricky.
Yeah.
So we actually have a cool rule about your different possibilities for those different combinations.
Okay, yeah, so let's see. So as long as you are turning while the pattern is behind you,
so leaving
here,
when your arms are unwinding in the back.
You either have to cross or do a blind turn, but never both. It's either one or the other. So if I turn this way, so let's see, if we're here, if I'm doing the arm change here, I have to either do a cross, or, going back here, I will do a blind turn but not a cross turn, like that.
So those are both of medium difficulty, so if you leave in the back you have to do one or the other.
So other way?
Yeah. The other way is, well sorry, on the other side, if you're leaving and rejoining in the front here, you have one very easy option and one very difficult option. So the easiest one is the non-crossing, non-blind turn here.
That'll feel the most natural of all. It feels great.
Yep. Or you can do the very hardest, which is a crossing blind turn. Do you want to try that one?
Sure, okay, so if I'm leaving here,
Front here.
I'm turning this way, and my right arm is going to have to cross all the way over, and it'll be difficult.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Okay.
yeah, so those are your two options for when you are leaving in the front. So it's completely dependent on which side of your own body you are leaving on. Which way your partner is facing does not actually matter, which is cool. Okay, so the last thing we wanted to talk about is linking multiple arm changes together to make continuous moves. So whenever you are putting two or more arm changes back to back, you have two options of how to move between those, since each involves a 180 turn. You can either turn one way and then turn back the way you came, so back and forth, or you can turn the same direction for both 180s, which brings you in a full circle back to where you started.
So there's a cool rule to figure out what sort of complicating elements you have to add in each of these cases. So if you plan on doing a full continuous circle, there has to be exactly one blind element and one crossing element. Never more, never less. So for example, if I'm doing a 4-beat, and if I do a crossing turn and I want to do a complete circle, I know that my next turn will be a blind, non-crossing turn, and vice versa. That also means, though, if my first turn was a normal, non-blind, non-crossing, my next one will have to be
the very hardest turn.
the very hardest one. You okay?
Yes, so the two different elements can be combined however you want between the full 360, but they both have to be there.
So, the other case is if you're doing back and forth. The rule is very cool. Whatever elements were present in the first turn you did will be exactly the same. So, if your first turn was a non-crossing, non-blind, the next one will also be non-crossing, non-blind. So this is actually the easiest arm change combination you can possibly do. But that means if the first one was blind, of course, the next one's also blind. So it's just always the same.
Blip.
Bloop.
Okay, so that pretty much covers what we have for one-person 4-beat arm changes, but there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with two-person continuous arm changes, and other similar variations that involve the cooperation of both partners. So we'll get into those in the next half of this video, which we want to break up for length reasons, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so while arm changes can be done as an individual
Try again. Oh god.
Oh my god.
The turn you do, the change you do will be exactly the same as the original change. Okay, so again, I'll say this again. I'm gonna bloop it right there.
Alright.
Oh my god. Yeah, what's next? Oh god! Cow sex? Are you doing cow sex?
Yeah.
Darn.
I cow sexed you.